to take away from both games. I did this in both.
I just need the apology to be as loud as the disrespect was. That's all I need. It was a bad shot, but he was out of rhythm as well.
Don't try to take up. That was a bad
shot. He was out of rhythm, though.
What's good, Bama State? It's Kendal Mans, sports editor for the Hornet Tribune, and I'm here with my co-host,
Khalil Stewart. I'm the assistant sports editor, and welcome to another episode of The Wild Card,
where we talk everything ASU sports. If you didn't tune in to last week's episode, go back and watch that. But for right now, we got a new week, new topics. Let's not waste no more time, and let's get into it. We do have a new segment that we want to start. Khalil, let the people know what it is.
Well, I did this segment because I want to test who really knows their ASU sports history. So, that being said, the question that I have for you guys is, who is the all-time winningest men's basketball coach in ASU history? I will give you the answer at the end of the show, but let us know who you think it is down below, and we'll get back to it. But speaking of hoops, let's talk about some women's basketball. You know, they went 1-1 this past week with a loss to Alabama A&M and a victory over Southern last night. How did you feel about that? And I want you to give me a deeper perspective what you think, because you were kind of disappointed earlier this week. So
yeah, you're right, I was.
Pick yourself up. Let's go.
Okay, so first, before I get into it, we do want to say prayers out to Taisha Rudolph. She had a scary lower body injury.
Non-contact.
Yeah, non-contact lower body injury last night. We want to send our prayers out to her and wish her a speedy recovery. But talking about the games, yeah, you were right. I was pretty disappointed in the first. Yeah, I was. They lost to A&M it was a tight game, but we just couldn't. Outside of Ayana, our offense was pretty non-existent. Ayana scored 36 points, but the rest of the team, they weren't aggressive enough for me. And, you know, especially with Jayla and Shamaya, I've talked about how gifted of scorers those two are, and they shot 3 and 7 times respectively. So that kind of killed them. But in the Southern game, they were a lot more improved. Jayla shot 11 times, and she had 16 points. And Shamaya shot five times, but she was 5 for 5, had 11 points, and she had a double-double as well. So I was more encouraged in the Southern win than I was discouraged in the A&M loss. I will say that.
Okay, I'll accept that. My biggest takeaway from both these games was the fact that the turnovers. Well, I'm gonna start with Southern because that's the most recent one on my mind. Against Southern, the slow starts they can't happen. Going into next week when you go into the tournament, the 10 turnovers in the first quarter, that gets you beat. Because if you're gonna play a team like Jackson State, who we both agree is by far the best team in SWAC right now, 10 turnovers will send you home.
You're not gonna come back on every team like that.
Exactly. Luckily, this was a Southern team that was, you know, they're not as good as Jackson State. I think we beat them by 20, so obviously we're better than them. Yeah. But at the same time, you know,
those are the top 2 teams in the SWAC too, or top in the top 4.
Top 5, both of them were top 5 teams. So it tells you a lot about what they both are. Mm-hmm. But I was kind of worried they were going to lose this game because I saw the press of Southern and how it impacted us, and it looked really ugly.
Yeah, it did. They were down by as much as 11 points in the second quarter.
Yeah, and when you start talking about the fact that they were playing with press. When teams decide to press you, and that's been the game plan against this team all season. Mm-hmm. When teams decide to press you, they're trying to speed you up and make you come out of your, you know, take time off the shot clock and make you do things that you're not.
They let them dictate how their offense.
Yeah, you said that. You know, they're getting the shot block. They're doing things that I never see them do. Even DK was turning the ball over more than she usually does. She looked very uncomfortable.
And the thing for me that was the most encouraging was how Coach Jackson played them. You know, like we said, they were down by as much as 11 points.
Still my saying.
I'm sorry, but you made a great point when we were watching the game yesterday. They were down by as much as 11 points in the second, and they closed the second half out on a 14-2 run. Coach Jackson didn't call no timeouts. The only reason Coach Jackson didn't call any timeouts though. She let him play. With a team like this, you got vets, you got seniors, and you also got graduate students. Yeah, they gotta figure it out.
It was very Phil Jackson-esque. She played mind games. She was a Zen master there. She did some things I have never seen her do yesterday. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't yanking players up like that. And it was she was letting them figure it out on their own because going into next week, they're going to have to figure out their own. Timeouts can only take you so far in tournament games.
So, with that being said, what's your predictions?
Lord. Off the top, I think that we can definitely win our first round matchup. But the way it's looking right now, I haven't checked the standings in the last 24 hours. I don't know if we're back at number 2 or not. But if we're at 3 or 4, then we may be going home second round because that leads you to Jackson State.
Yep.
But I'm going to keep my hopes high. What about you?
I mean, I've said this from the last possession of the SWAC championship last season. SWAC championship. I truly believe that this team at their best can beat anybody. I gotta see them. I gotta see them play at their best.
Interesting.
And like I said, they beat a Southern team, and that was a very encouraging win for me.
Also, I want to say these injuries that they're getting them at the wrong time.
Absolutely.
It was
Taisha, that's a big loss.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully she can come back.
And then we even saw Shemaya. We weren't sure if she was gonna play. You saw her hobbling around at the beginning of the game. So yeah.
Yeah, but the girls do go out tomorrow. They play Grambling State at home at 2:00. Make sure you guys go out and support for their final regular season game. We need all the support they can get. Now, we want to transition to the men's. They also went 1-1 this past week. It's kind of encouraging, kind of discouraging. Khalil, how do you feel about the team moving forward?
I'm going to say a saying that I heard last week at the conference too. It's a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
I like how you brought that back.
1 week, they may come out there and they'll beat the best team in the SWAC or one of the top teams because Southern was one of the better teams in the SWAC. I mentioned them. I told you earlier this season they went to Kentucky and they battled them all the way to halftime. In the end, they ended up getting blown out, but they did, of course, have a 5-point. They were down by 5.5. Yeah, but I just never know this team. There's no consistency, but I will say this: Gerald Liddell, he did what he was brought to do coming out of Texas.
Most def. He played great yesterday.
Yeah.
He really did. I was really happy with how he played.
But the spark plug was Isaiah Raines early in the game.
Yeah. He helped them out. He helped them get to that lead that they got at the beginning too.
Yeah.
You're right about that.
Knocking down those early threes. He came out with 8 straight points. One thing that really irritated me was seeing Trace Young on the bench.
I don't know what's going on with that, man, but I mean, like, last week or a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Trace being the best scorer on the team, best player, and now he's getting benched and now
he's doghouse.
Yeah, and it's like, what's going on with him? He doesn't get a chance to get a rhythm, and everything it's doing him a disservice because we know that he can be a better player than what he showed yesterday. He had 5 turnovers and 5 points. He can be better.
You can see mentally he's lost.
He's not there.
His confidence is shot
at all. And I don't know if that, like, what the coaching philosophy is with that or what, but it sucks to see him not be a part of the team playing as well as they did. They had 5 players in double digits, and he wasn't one of them. Like, that can't happen, in my opinion, especially for a team that is so talented all around.
So, yeah, definitely. I don't think people realize how talented he is. But one thing I got to say is they finally showed why. I've said this all season. 9 times out of 10 when they play games, they're the biggest team on the court.
Yeah.
You start, you 6'7", 6'8", you look at all those guys. They out-rebounded Southern 38-26. How many times have I said they out-rebounded somebody this season?
You don't say it a lot, I'm going to be honest. It doesn't happen often.
And when you finally use what you have and with Gerald Liddell, Jordan O'Neal, guys like that, you see what happens. It's very easy wins against teams that are obviously more talented.
I wish they played like this a couple weeks ago. We were talking about them going to the tournament.
Because now you're relying on Jackson State and Bethune-Cookman to lose. And like you said before, when you're putting your destiny in the hands of someone else, it's never wins well. Yeah. So. But they do take on Grambling State tomorrow in the Dunn Oliver Acadome at 5 o'clock. Make sure you guys come check them out in their final regular season game. I believe it is senior night as well, so we're going to go support those seniors. So, but transition to the next segment of the show that we want to call the Bama State Roundup, where we give quick updates, quick hitters on things going on around campus sports-wise. But I want to start with baseball. They went 0-2 this week against Auburn with a loss 13-7, followed by another nail-biter to Sanford. They will take on St. Bonaventure today at 5 o'clock. Make sure you check them out.
All right, softball, they're 3-1 in their last 4. They closed out the HBCU Celebration Tournament on a 3-game winning streak. They play the Black and Gold Tournament starting today and leading into the weekend. They play Nicholas twice, Eastern Illinois, and Eastern Kentucky.
Next, I want to talk about volleyball. They had 3 mid-year transfers, which is big for this team because they need some more experience going into next season. First, I want to start with Emily Brooks. She is a hometown hero from Montgomery, Alabama. She's transferred here from Texas, West Salem. She's a setter. Now I want to talk about Temperance Chapman. She's from Hansville, Alabama. She transferred here from Wallace Community College. Her position is libero. And Lexi Lewis, who transferred here from Arkansas, Fort Smith. She's also one of the 3 players on the team that is from Arizona with Emerson Bells and Madison Beasley. And her position is defensive specialist. But that being said, let's transfer over into football. Talk about, what happened with Tuskegee.
ASU signed a 3-year deal for the Turkey Day Classic versus Tuskegee. It begins in the 2023 season and extends into the 2025 season. Khalil, I'm really excited because we both know how much the Turkey Day Classic means to everybody here at ASU. It means a lot to people at Tuskegee as well. And I think it's really good that we finally have like an outlook for the future where these two teams can match up with each other.
Yeah, it's definitely a matchup that we need to see each year in, year out. Because I know there were a couple of alumni who were upset about this matchup being, gone this year. Because it's, for one, not just to speak about the school financially, it brings us a lot of money because you see it brings in people from all over, and that's something that's
great for the community.
Yeah, camaraderie, and not only that, bragging rights. You always want bragging rights over someone you've been playing for that long. So shout out to my mama about the bragging rights thing. Let's talk about this.
It'll be 100 games in 2020 in this deal too. So that's really big for them. But the ASU team also finally hired a defensive coordinator, Anton Sewell. He's coming from Bowie State, where he was a defensive coordinator, and he's also a former DB coach at Prairie View as well. One thing that we got to say about him, though, is that he's a winner. They got a plethora of CIAA championships, and he also coached 4 Defensive Rookie of the Years and a couple of Defensive Player of the Years as well. That's really big for this team, especially filling in that defensive coordinator spot that they will severely lack.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how he makes it with Coach Robinson because they both are defensive-minded coaches, and you're adding them to a defense that was already really good.
Yeah.
So, you got a lot of transfers in. We actually got the number 1 JUCO defensive lineman coming in this offseason. Interested to see what's really going to happen because, that's the strongest part of defense.
They also added a defensive back coach as well, James Williams. He's a former NFL player. He played for the Colts, the Texans, and the Giants. And he also played at Texas Southern. Like you said, it's great. It's great for the team, but I'm really interested to see what kind of schemes and everything that they're going to run. They primarily ran a 4-2-5 defense, but they also have a lot of different formations that they can play with. They got different coverages that they can try, different packages.
Can I say this though?
What's up?
It took long enough.
It did.
It seems like we lost our defensive coordinator about a month ago at this point, and I almost really forgot about it.
At this point, I thought Eddie Robinson was going to be the coach.
Exactly, because usually with a coach like him or a coach that coaches either offense or they want to call their own plays.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see it.
When's the spring game again?
April 26th. Make sure y'all come out and support us as we take on each other.
I'm excited. I'm really excited to see this team play football again. But we do want to transition into the wider world of HBCU football and talk about Grambling State and their coaching controversy with the former Baylor head coach Art Briles resigning as offensive coordinator this past week. Yeah. Khalil. So going into it, it was already a controversial hire from the jump. Hugh Jackson, he defended himself in the hire after he resigned and during his tenure too. I don't really know what to make of it though. Like, what do you think about it?
So just to give you guys a back history of what's going on with this, Art Briles was the head coach at Baylor, and he's had a lot of sexual assault and sexual misconduct things going on campus, which was he swept under the rug. He didn't bring it up. So the thing about Hugh Jackson is I thought he wanted to call his own plays. Mm-hmm. I thought that he wanted to take part of this because he coached in the NFL at the highest level. Yeah. Coached with the Steelers, coached with the Bengals, he was the OC. So I didn't understand that what really was his motive behind making this hire. But you never want to get off to a strong, he didn't make a good first impression. Let's call it what it is. Especially when you talk about, we have Eddie Robinson, not our Eddie Robinson, Grambling, other side of the South. You always want to make a good first impression. And when you have him saying, I'm out, I don't want anything to do with this program, that's a problem.
It's a really bad look, like you said, for a first-year coach. I understand, when he was with Baylor, he was known as one of the top offensive minds in the nation. I understand that, but at the same time, it reminds me of what the Jacksonville Jaguars did this past year in the NFL. You sign Urban Meyer, a coach with a lot of baggage. You bring him in thinking that he's going to change the culture. And what is one of the first things he does? He hires Chris Doyle, a guy with a whole lot of baggage. And he ends up being fired within the first week. Or he ends up resigning within the first week. At some point in time, you have to understand that it's probably easier for you not to put yourself in a position where you have so much controversy, especially going into your first year as a head coach. I still think that they can bounce back from it, but it's not, like you said, it's not
winning cures all.
And if he would have made this decision, say they win a couple of championships, and then he makes a decision like this, it makes more sense. I think it's perceived a little bit differently. But right now, it's controversial.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think they're winning the championship. They're gonna be a good team. They'll be there, but the team that's gonna win it is in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm just gonna.
Well, yeah, that's.
I said if.
Yeah,
I said if.
Big if.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
But now we want to transition to your favorite part of the show, my favorite part of the show, everybody's favorite part of the show, the best in the nest.
Best in the nest, guys, where we give a shout out to the best performances for the past week. We got Ayana Emmanuel, 30 points per game, 6.5 rebounds in the last 2 games, shooting 60% from the field and 100% from the free throw line. She's been on a tear these past few weeks. She had 20 plus points in the past 6 games. Next up, we got Gerald Liddell, 15 point, 10 rebound, double-double versus Southern. He had 3 blocks and he shot 75% from the field. My next 2 are for golf in the Birmingham Spring Invitational. We got Gonzalo Marino. He finished with a 2 over 73 in the final round and finished second overall with a 3 over 145. Next, we got Teresa Diaz-Dorte. She finished second after a final round of 76, and she finished at 16 over 160. My last 2 are for softball for the HBCU Celebration Tournament. We had Bailey Greenlee. She earned SWAC Pitcher of the Week. In 15 innings in 3 games, she allowed just 2 hits, 2 runs, and 14 strikeouts. My last one is Kendal DeRamis. She earned SWAC Hitter of the Week, had an on-base percentage of 57%, and she had 8 hits and 14 at-bats, and she stole 4 bases in 5 attempts. We want to congratulate all the Hornets from this past week. We got a lot of ballers on this campus, and we cannot wait to add some more next week. So make sure you guys tune in and see the very best that Alabama State has to offer.
Great job, buddy. You're starting to get the hang of this thing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
But the answer to the question that I proposed to you guys earlier in the show is James Oliver. In 13 seasons, he posted a record of 195 and 172, which is a 53% win percentage. But make sure you guys check back next week to get the next question. You give us your answers. But that's going to do it for this episode, you guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Follow our Instagram at Hornet Tribune. And we will see you next week.
We out of here. Quick show.